A warm welcome. I'm B. Anita, pursuing my MBA degree in SRM Ramapuram. I'm here to present on the topic electric vehicles. An overview of electric vehicles. An electric vehicle is the hot item in this auto world because everybody is moving towards eco-friendly environment and a new technological development that will help in reducing the carbon emissions and ozone layer depletion. So EV provides environmental advantage even though they carry a high price, tax credits, and higher operating costs. EVs are powered by electricity than burning fuel and emitting carbons. So carbon contributes to the greenhouse effect, which means it is the most important long-lived forcing of climate change. So what is greenhouse effect? The greenhouse effect is when the atmospheric dioxide traps heat, which leads to an increase in the temperature of the surface. So basically, I wanted to start with what is EV. EV, the full form means electric vehicle, is one that it operates on electric motor. That is, it does not uses fuel or burns fuel to emit fire and run a vehicle. It uses electricity to run the motor and it turns its wheels. EV is also useful in such a way that it does not produce any pollution, either it is noise pollution or air pollution. So EVs can not just be the vehicles like that we see in day-to-day life, whether it is going to be a car or a scooter. It could also be surface and underwater vessels, electric aircrafts, and electric spacecrafts too. So though the concept of electronic vehicles has been around for a long time, it is a considerable amount of interest in the past from the past that we have is to develop the electric vehicles. It is just a decade ago that we have started using it in our day-to-day life. So moving on to what is to the history of electric vehicles. So the first person who created, that is who started the concept of electrical vehicles was in 1828. The Hungarian priest and physicist Annoy Jeldik invented the early type of electric motor and created a small model car powered by his new motor. And the next invention was between 1832 to 1839. A Scottish inventor, Robert Anderson, also invented a crude electric carriage. Next is in 1835, Professor Sibrandus of Netherlands and his assistant Christopher Becker from Germany also created a small car powered by no chargeable primary cells. So these are the inventions that could be seen in these images. So first is Mr. Alois Jeldik and his invention. The next is Robert Anderson and his invention, and the third down image is Mr. Sibres and the invention that he has made. So the electric invention, that is electrical vehicle invention, was not just before a decade, it is just a usage now, but it was forecasted before because of the natural resources could be depleted over time, and they created such an invention. So moving on to the types of electric vehicles. So electric vehicles are basically classified into three main groups. First is all electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and the third one is the conventional hybrids. So the all electric vehicles is again subdivided into two. The first one is battery electric vehicle and the fuel cell electric vehicle. So we'll detailedly know about what is each and every type. The first type is the battery electric vehicle. So battery electric vehicle is a form of battery cell that is being used inside the vehicle, so that the battery is being stored and used whenever the vehicle is being started. So this is actually been into form nowadays too, even in the normal vehicles, that is fuel based vehicles too, that you can see it is the automatic start, or it is the automatic ignition of a car or a vehicle without being kicking and starting the vehicle. You could use that button or an button in a vehicle, that is in a scooter or a bike or in a car, so that you could start the vehicle automatically. That is the battery electronic vehicle. So this concept is not just for being the start, and also for it is also for running the vehicle too. The next is the plug-in hybrid vehicles. So this type of vehicle is in which you could charge a car or a scooter periodically when the battery gets low and it runs on it. So there is a limited power that could be charged, and the limited kilometers that it could run to. So it depends on the vehicle that you choose. Next is the hybrid electric vehicles. The third type is the combination of both the battery electric vehicle and the plug-in. So it could be used either on fuel, and battery could be used periodically. That is, it could be switched on to a battery vehicle, and the other hybrid that is good, and the other type is that the plug-in hybrid, where you could charge the vehicle and then use it. So it could be either fuel based and the battery which is stored. And the next type is you could plug in and use it on a battery usage. So this is the working, that is how it is used. The first is the hybrid. So both combustion engine and the electric motor could be used. And the second is the plug-in, where you would charge in the vehicle. Here it is given through an example of a car. It could also be a bike or a scooter too. So here it is charged, and then the electricity is, there is the electric charge is being used to run a vehicle. And the third is the all electric vehicle, where only motor is being, that is only electricity is being used completely through a battery, and it is used to run a vehicle. So before going into how it is going to be used or other things, we must first know that how an electric vehicle work. So electric vehicles can work by replacing a combustion engine with electric motor. So it is done by plugging the charger point and taking electricity from the grid, and using this electricity, it will help to run the wheels. And electric cars accelerate faster vehicles with traditional fuel engines. So they feel actually they do not carry so much heavy equipment. So it is very easy to ride, and the speed is also increased, as well as there's no noise. So this gives you a block diagram of how an electric vehicle works. So first battery, then the inverter where it stores. Next is the motor or generator. When ignition starts, this electricity is being used to drive the vehicles. So the next diagram shows how is it being charged. It is stored in a HP battery. There's a controller which controls the amount of electricity to be passed to the electric motor, so that the motor runs and the vehicle starts running. So next we have to go onto the deep into the topic is why should we use electric vehicles. The main reason to use electric vehicle is that because of ecological imbalance which is being created due to the air pollution and the carbon emissions that being emitted from these vehicles. So with the battery prices has reportedly been falling by 73% from 2020, so that it is expected that the cars and motor vehicles could be used, electric motor vehicles could be used, the first point. The next is that currently cars and trucks add up to 25% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions. So electric vehicles are seriously being viewed as a alternative to fuel vehicles. And also the natural resources are being depleted, that is petroleum gas are being depleted day by day, and this would not be available for the future generation if we are going to be extracted into a large extent. The next reason is that the carbon dioxide is being emitted too much, which creates chaos in the society. Even reported that is during the last year Diwali time, or during a fog time, that is during the snow time, winter season, Delhi reported for high fog and smog due to the emissions that is being brought out by the vehicles. By 2025, 20% of all the cars and bikes and the trucks that is being used sold globally would be electric first, and by 2030 it is forecasted that 40%, and by 2040 virtually every vehicle would be sold would be electric. The government is being very keen in changing the policy of vehicles that is being used to be electric, so that it reduces the carbon dioxide emissions by 2030. So this slide shows the emissions that is being made, and the various sources of emissions that is being made. The carbon dioxide contributes to about 57%. This three charts shows about how globally the greenhouse gas emissions is being affected. So carbon dioxide is being contributed to 57%, and the source of greenhouse gas emissions is being shown. There is food, land use is 24%, transportation is 14%, industry is 21%, buildings contribute 6%, electricity 25%, and others. And the last line graph shows the carbon emissions with respect to other countries, India, and with respect to other countries. Like you've seen that USA is 15.6, and China contributes to 8.9. Other European countries to contribute about 6.4, and India to 2.5. Though India is just in the least of 2.5, we are to save our world. That is, we are a part of the world, and we have to make some changes to control the air pollution and the noise pollution that is being created by us. And other countries of the world contribute to 5.7. The next is we're going to see how electric cars and combustion cars differ from each other, so that we could assess what are the advantages and disadvantages of both the two. So first is the electric cars. In terms of energy, it is electricity produced by batteries, and it is by fossil fuels. In case of price, that is the basis is price. Electric cars is actually expensive because of the battery are being expensive, whereas fuel is being cheaper, and the parts that it contributes to is also cheaper. And pollution, it does not harm in any way. It cleans earth, that is it helps in air pollution, that is controlling air pollution and noise pollution. Whereas in terms of combustion cars, it is harmful, creating carbon emission, therefore polluting air, and it also produces such a lot of noise, which creates noise pollution. So the running cost is low, to because it contributes to lesser number of parts, whereas it is more due to the parts and the replacement of oil, etc. According to the fuel rate, electricity rate may vary from place to place. However, in price, that is a fuel price, it contributes to the constant price, which is being followed throughout the world. Then servicing. There are now several companies that is available now for servicing electric cars, whereas in fuel-based cars, that is combustion cars, there's a lot of mechanics available to help in servicing and repairing those cars. So when we move on to the advantages of these fuel-based electric cars on over the fuel-based cars, is it is more efficient, lower cost, lower emissions. It is simply transmission. There is simpler transmission, fewer moving parts. There is fuel choice. Next, oil or energy independence. We do not depend on oil or energy. Then charging EVs represent a small amount of total power demand, because electricity is available everywhere, whereas fossil fuel is a natural resource. Then some batteries have been sent to outlast the vehicle life. Sometimes the batteries have been long lasting even after the vehicle has been worn out. So some reduction in global warming, zero emissions. Electricity is widely available. Actually, it needs less maintenance. It does not need continuous servicing or other stuffs. Meet all federal safety demands. So there's much safety when compared to fuel cars. So the government policies and incentives that the electric vehicles and incentives for electric vehicles in India are as follows: FAME 2, PLI scheme policy, battery swapping policy, duty reduction on electric vehicles, special e-mobility zone. So taking up one by one. So moving on with the first one, FAME 2. Actually, FAME is a full form of faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. It was conceived by the government of India to narrow the gap between the prices and the traditional internal combustion vehicles and electric vehicles like cars, scooters, three-wheelers, hybrids included. This scheme was introduced in April 2019 to encourage a switch to electric mobility with a firm goal in mind to reduce carbon emissions in line with COP21 agreement and also save fuel. The first contribution was 100,000 crores, and the subsidy that was allotted to this scheme. And the new scheme, that is the current FAME 2 subsidy scheme vehicles, is all about the offer has been increased to 15% more of the subsidy. It constituted, in effect, it has moved from rupees 10,000 crores to 15,000 crores, and the subsidy cap for 40% of the increase in the cost of the vehicle. When we move on to the next scheme, that there is the PLI scheme, which means that production linked incentive. PLI is a full form. There is the government on 12th May 2021 approved the scheme for manufacturing of advanced chemistry cell, that is ACC, in the country. In order to bring down the price of battery in the country, drop in battery price will result in the cost reduction of electric vehicles. This was the main motive to bring out the scheme. Electric vehicles are covered under a production linked incentive scheme for automobile and auto components, which was approved on 15 September 2021 with a budgetary outlay of 25 crores, nearly 25 crores for a period of 5 years. Next is the duty reduction on electric vehicles. That is, the GST on the electric vehicles has been reduced from 12% to 5%. The GST on charges or charging stations for electric vehicles has been reduced from 18% to 5%. The next is the battery swapping policy. So first, when we take up what is battery swapping, it means it is a mechanism that involves exchanging discharged batteries for charged ones. This provides the flexibility to charge these batteries separately and keeps the vehicle in operational mode with negligible downtime. So battery swapping is generally used for smaller vehicles such as two-wheelers and three-wheelers with smaller batteries that is easier to swap compared to the four-wheelers and the e-buses, although solutions are emerged for the large segments as well. So the major reason for that is the battery swapping policy is that it reduces time. You need not stand at the power stations for a longer time. So you just need to swap batteries and you can just move on with your ride. The other reason is that you need not halt in a particular place and create congestion over the place. So that so swapping would be a better reason so that congestion will not take place in the charge stations. Just as in the fuel, or that is in the petroleum stations, you stand in the queue for stand in the queue for filling up petrol. So next is the special e-mobility zone. In the Union Budget of 2022, the government has introduced new policies to encourage the adoption of EVs, that is the electronic vehicles. The government has introduced new special mobility zone. These zones will be dedicated just to the electric vehicles. It is especially for the electric vehicles. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced that these zones will be free of fossil fuel driven vehicles. Additionally, a new battery swapping policy has been introduced to deal the space constraints regarding EV charging. So these mobility zones has been especially made for the swapping policy that is being done, so that people over there would be there is a people coming to those places would be made available. That is, they would come there only just to charge their batteries or swap their batteries, and they would come there for no other reason. Next, we'll move on to the future statistics of electric vehicles growth. So the first chart shows about the projected sales of electric vehicles. That is from 2020, it is about 10 billion, that is 10 millions, which grows year by year. And it is forecasted that by 2040, it will be more than 400 million. That is, the sales will be, cumulative sales will be more than 400 million. The next bar diagram shows about the proposition of vehicles that will be bought by the different society of the people, that is shared mobilities, government organizations, personal uses and others. So by 2025, it is forecasted that the personal user of EV vehicles will be very much higher when compared to the other years. So the rise of electric cars. This gradually shows that how people are being socially responsible for reducing the carbon emissions, and how they are adapting to the new environment, and the care that they take about their mother earth. So by 2015, there's merely any sales in the electric vehicles. By 2022, we are actually where there's a small increase in the growth of sales of the electric cars, whereas in 2040 it is projected that the major of the cars, that is the most of the cars that is being sold, 35% of the cars that is being sold would contribute to the electric cars. So till now we have been seeing all the advantages and the growth that is going to be taken in the future too. So when we move on to the arguments of the disadvantages, the list of disadvantages is also available despite the advantages. So electric vehicles are expensive, the bill goes up, the range of cars is too short because electric vehicles are being designed in only a small range. Some of the purpose technologies that is being said are not being realistic. Fuel engines is yet to be developed in certain stations, that is in several areas. Frequent charging of the battery is being required nowadays because the swapping policy is just now being invented and it is not being into picture fully. So electric vehicles require long charging time. So the major reason for this topic that I've taken is the major problem being faced recently is the electric vehicles being caught on fire. So you could see the pictures that it ignites in several parts of India. So the major reasons for this ignition could be the high temperature. Actually, India is nearly to the equator, and the summer that it experiences is very high. The temperature increases because of the ozone layer depletion, as we know. So just to safeguard ourselves, we are actually moving on to electric vehicles. Even though we have been moving, the effects that we have caused, that is the effects or the harm that we have caused to the environment, is showing us again. So the temperature each and every summer is being increased. There are sunburns. There are many people who is being bound to, that is burned to death. Even human who is being burned. Why not the electric vehicles? So reason is the main reason that it ignites is the high temperature of the environment. The next is the short circuit, that is the short circuiting of the vehicle. Next is the faulty charging. Sometimes the charge is being overdrawn, that is the overcharging of the vehicle could also lead to the burning of EVs. The next is the BMS issue. The BMS is the battery management system. It is the power hub that is actually, it is a primary part of the electric vehicle. So if this is not designed properly, this could also lead to ignition. Next is the accidental damage. There are some damages that is occurred to the vehicle, or the assembling not be proper. So it would lead to the ignition of the vehicle. So the solution that is suggested is temperature friendly. So when a vehicle is being assembled and it is being test drive, it should go on to various levels of test so that doesn't get ignited. The temperature it should resist. The battery must be designed in such a way that even though there's a high temperature, there is no way it could ignite. The next is battery to be cooled down periodically. So when you're using for electric vehicles for a longer time, you must also give time for it to cool down so that it does not get heated up and ignited. We would have also seen that the fuel, that is the fuel based cars that we use, that is the fuel based cars or even scooters that we use, when we go for a long ride, when we open the engine place, you would have a smoke that comes out, or when we use mineral water to cool it down. So when the engine is being constantly used, it will lead to heat that is being produced. That is the electric motor runs because of the heat that is being produced either by electricity or when it is a fuel vehicle too. So it should be cooled down periodically so that it does not ignite. Next is the limitary battery filling. So when you charge battery, it should not be done for a longer time. Only for a particular time, the battery must be filled so that it does not ignite. When you charge the battery and you move on for a longer time, the battery gets increasing over time, over the limit, and it starts to ignite. Next, avoid high exposure to sunlight. Whenever the battery is being charged or it is being at rest, please do ensure that the vehicle is being in a sunshade, so that the sunlight, so that the electric vehicle is not exposed to sunlight, so much of sunlight, which leads to the ignition and other issues too. So the last slide which I would contribute is to the roadmap to 2050. So the start till the vision that is going to be achieved is during the 2050. Here is a roadmap to it. So from here, when you start from today, the day one, when the electric vehicle, the concept of electric vehicle was started, the first was the competitive pricing that was taken into account because every country faces pricing issues. The next, when we take up, was the practicability, that is how much the electric vehicle is going to work out in an economy, either it is going to be our country or all over the world. Next is the environmental benefits that is going to take into. Next is the public profile, how many people of the society are going to use these electric vehicles. Next is the availability, how are these electric vehicles going to be assembled and available to the general public. So these are the things that was considered first, and towards the vision of 2050, towards the vision, that is towards the vision, when we move on from 2020, that is, it was forecasted that 10% of vehicle sales are electric. Maybe it may not be achieved by 2020, but by 2022, by this year, I could see many electrical vehicles, either cars or even scooters, that are being used and a vision of ecological friendly. By 2050, it is a vision that 75% of the vehicles that is being used, or 100% of the vehicles that is going to be manufactured must be electrical vehicles, and all the persons are going to use it. Maybe today it is very difficult for the middle class people to use these electrical vehicles because of the cost, but in due course of time, when the electric vehicle is the only vehicle that is going to be available, the that is the fuel or the petroleum bunks that are being available is going to be replaced by the battery bunks, or charge places, or even the battery swapping areas that is going to be built, will all change the scenario, so that each and every people, that is even the low class people to the high class people, could use these electric vehicles for their day-to-day use. So this CO, or the cloud type diagram, shows the electric vehicles that is going to be used again and again would lead to the reduction of the carbon emissions. So the CO2 represents the carbon dioxide. By 2050, this emission is going to be reduced in the first most layer, 7% reduction by renewable energy. And in the second layer, 18% will be reduced by 0.5% of the vehicle use that we use. That is going to be changeable either to cycles or to the electric vehicles. And the third most layer, that is 20% reduction, is due to the fuel efficiency. That is, we are not going to deplete the natural resources, and we are going to change into the electric vehicle. And the last stage is a 30% reduction by 92%, that is 90 to 100% of the vehicles that we are going to use is going to be electric vehicles. So the last is the conclusion part. The electric vehicles are definitely more environment friendly than internal combustion vehicles. Batteries are being engineered to have a long life. So the electric vehicles become more widespread. Battery recycling will become economically possible. So if not today, but tomorrow, we will become a carbon-free environment, an electrical environment. That is, electrical vehicles are going to be a part and parcel of our life one day or the other. Research into energy resources, like it is not just a battery that we use. There are also being researches made so that we could use power cells, fuel cells, other renewable energies that could be helpful in running the electric vehicles too. So thank you for listening with patience. And I would also suggest that if not today, but in the near future, we are going to change ourselves to the electric vehicles. So how much ever possible that we are going to change to the electric vehicles, it is that good through the environment. Thank you so much for lending your ears with patience for my speech. Thank you.